always encouraging the imagination. And one thing I've imagined before, which is hard to imagine and a pretty wild idea, is if we didn't have jealousy, which is a very intrinsic part of what we know. And I think that comes from like ownership. Because if you feel like something's yours and then it's shared, it kind of takes away from that exclusiveness, which is very interesting. So I'm not saying it'd be better without jealousy, even though I suspect it probably would be. We just can't conceive of that. But jealousy, it's also makes things really tough, and it puts a lot of stress on us. Like, we would just probably share everything, and we wouldn't have like, we'd probably be more like, you know, indigenous cultures a little bit more. Not saying that they're that way, but as far as like, no one really owns land. It's just, we would just all share land, except for, I mean, I don't know, that's debatable, but it wouldn't be like the borders today. Not that that directly goes into jealousy, but the whole ownership. I think jealousy is intrinsic with dominator society, which is that ownership kind of thing. But I was just pontificating about that because if we didn't have that, we'd be a lot more free, because we're all victims to jealousy. And I guess there's different aspects of jealousy. Like, there's jealousy if someone else is looking at your partner and maybe your partner's into them, and then there's like that whole insecurity thing, which jealousy, yeah, can come from insecurity as well. But another aspect of it is, or one thing that's helped me not have so much jealousy, is not comparing yourself with others, because yes, someone else might have an advantage that I don't have, but I also have things that they don't have. So all of us just have our own unique arrangement of skills and challenges. So there's not necessarily like someone else, like one person's better than another, even though externally, like looking in, it might look like they have their life more together. But we don't really know. Jealousy, it's something even from the Old Testament. The God of the demiurge, the God of the Old Testament, you know, would say, I am a jealous God. And what a lot of Christians interpret that as is like passionate. Like he's passionate for his people. But I had to, I didn't quite take that from it, because he also had the ultimatums of, if you follow these other gods, and I don't know, it just seemed archaic to me to have like a supreme being needing to be worshipped. Like, what's up with that? And if he needed to be worshipped, he could do a lot of more like superhero profound things to impress everyone and get people to worship him, which like didn't seem to happen as far as the biblical lore is concerned. But he said, I am a jealous God. And then he had also said, I am the only God. Which was a mistake, because they're like, well, if you're the only God, what do you have to be jealous of, you know? And I guess Christians would argue false idols, but it's like false idols have nothing on a real deity. So, you know, a deity wouldn't need to be insecure about that. At least this is my limited understanding of it. And I'm thankful to be one that doesn't really struggle a lot with jealousy. I've definitely felt it at times before, and I'll have different kind of forms of jealousy. Like, I was dating this gal who, it's her family, it's not that her family didn't have any problems or anything, but they stayed together and they were sweet, and it was just the family dynamic that she had or has was something I really wanted. And I was like, I always wanted this with my family. My family's very like separated, and a lot of the wounds and traumas from the past have kind of mended over time, so things have gotten better. But it was, it had a bit of a devastating blow upon our like psyche and our hearts and what happened. And there's also the whole religious aspect in our family that really caused a lot of toxicity, in my opinion, as far as like shaming, it's like sexual shaming, and just not being like, I don't know, like prude or whatever, or like saying crude things, and like, I don't know, it's just all this restriction. And I don't know, to me it was really unnatural. It was like, at that time I was thinking, if God wants me to be something different, wouldn't God help me do that? Especially if I want to be different and improve. Because who wants to be in a disposition of longing and wanting the whole time? I mean, unless that's the whole point of it. But I'm a little stubborn. I'm like, no, I don't consent to that disposition. I'm like, there's other ways to learn, and I have an open mind towards those things. I don't choose to be stuck in this one-dimensional, repetitive, soul-sucking experience of like the same struggles over and over. Other things about jealousy. Like, what are the rewards of jealousy? It's like getting to have that exclusivity in a relationship, or like owning your possessions and knowing they're yours and having that sense of ownership. In a universe with all these possibilities, I would wager that we could still have that sense of accomplishment or ownership, but without like the dominator effect of it, without the jealousy. And maybe it's like, to some people I'm conflating two things that are totally different things, but I see them as all adjacent and connected. All these words have a similar felt experience, at least for me. And oftentimes jealousy goes unspoken because no one wants to let it be known, like their feelings. And it can come out in a harsh way and or a toxic way. We've all been there. Most of us, anyway. I've been there. Usually being like not the one going through the jealousy experience, but being the recipient of the crossfire, so to speak. But yeah, world without jealousy. It's hard to imagine. It's hard to imagine. It probably seemed dumb to some people because they're like, well, then it wouldn't have the challenges or whatever. And I'm like, there is a plethora of challenges, and you could actually acclimate to higher challenges if you're not constantly like suffering over something that's out of your control. Anyway, those are my thoughts on it. I'd love to hear yours.